Hello. It's that time of year when geometry students first encounter triangle trig. Do you remember it? Let's review. All right, let's reacquaint you with this funny word, SOHCAHTOA. This is the first level of trig students encounter, which is right triangle trigonometry. So there's always going to be a right angle in this triangle. So let's pick one of our angles and we're going to call it theta. That's a Greek letter. All right, so everything is going to be based off the placement of theta. So the first thing we want to do is we want to label our three sides of our triangle. The side opposite the right angle is always the hypotenuse. So we're going to put an H there. And by opposite, I mean that if this is my right angle here, the side opposite that right angle is not one of the two sides involved in making that angle. So now similarly, if I look at my angle theta, if I want to call the side opposite it O, that would be this side here, right? It's not either of the two sides involved in making this angle theta. So this is my O, my opposite side. And the side which is neither the opposite side nor the hypotenuse, so that leaves this one here, is called the adjacent side, meaning it is one of the two sides making the angle, but it is not the hypotenuse. If I had started out saying this is my angle, well, hypotenuse remains the same. That is ever and always the one opposite the 90-degree angle, but this time that is my opposite side, and this is my adjacent side. All right, so now, SOHCAHTOA, you can see in here O's and H's and A's. That's these sides here. Now, the S, the C, and the T are the first three trigonometric functions students encounter, and they are sine, cosine, and tangent, which get abbreviated as sine, cos, and tan. And on your calculator, you'll notice that you have your sine, cos, and tangent keys there. So this funny syllabled word is there to help you remember the ratios. So the definition of the sine, and the way we say this is the sine of angle theta is our opposite divided by our hypotenuse. And that's that first syllable. So sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. All right, can you guess what's next? Cos of theta equals, that's right, adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent of theta equals, that's right, opposite over adjacent. These are definitions, they're relationships. These are things that used to be encountered in giant books and tables. Students would have to thumb through tables to find their answers. Now we've got these fabulous graphing calculators, and you can retrieve your answers with the press of a button. All right, but let's take a look at how students first encounter problems using triangle trig and SOHCAHTOA. So you might encounter a triangle that is a right triangle and has its sides labeled with numbers and then defines its angles as theta and alpha. And so then a problem might be something like this. It might ask you to find the sine of angle theta and the tangent of angle alpha. So the first thing I always do is write those syllables on the page. SOHCAHTOA. Okay, sine, so, theta, opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, hypotenuse is always the same thing, so I know my denominator is going to be 25. Opposite of theta is 24. The sine of theta is 24 over 25. Tangent of alpha, tan, OA, opposite over adjacent. Here's my alpha. Opposite is 7. Adjacent, well, it's not the hypotenuse, so it's this one. So tangent of alpha is 7 over 24. And then they might go on and do something like this and ask you to find the sine of alpha over the cosine of alpha. Okay, here's my alpha. Sine, so, opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite, hypotenuse, 7 over 25. Over, cosine of alpha. Ka, adjacent over hypotenuse. There's my adjacent. There's my hypotenuse. Fraction divided by a fraction. Ah, nope. Remember the jingle? Don't ask why, just flip and multiply. So I've got my 7 over 25. I am flipping my bottom fraction and I am multiplying. Well, I can see my 25 and my 25 will cross cancel, and I'll be left with 7 over 24. If that sounds familiar to you, then you have just proven to yourself the next level of understanding triangle trig, which is that the tangent of any angle is defined as the sine of that angle divided by the cosine of that angle. And you've just shown yourself why. Your opposite over hypotenuse divided by your adjacent over hypotenuse, when you flip and multiply, the hypotenuses cancel out and you wind up with opposite over adjacent, TOA. So there, you have just reminded yourself of the first couple of basic facts of triangle trig. All right, stay tuned for more videos reminding you how to use inverse functions to go from having side lengths to finding angle values, and how to have some side lengths and angle values to find the rest of the side lengths, and so on and so forth. And consider subscribing to my channel so you know when I put out a new video. And as always, keep on mathing.